One of my favourite player homes in Skyrim was of course Watch, the Magician's Tower. Well, guess what? There's something like that in Oblivion, and it's a player home that you can go ahead and grab for free. Although until you go ahead and upgrade it, it might not be as useful, but I promise you it's worth it. Why? Because it allows you to enchant your own gear or go ahead and craft your own spells even without joining the Mages Guild. And if you're really setting yourself a big challenge, or maybe in future if they add a survival mode, maybe you won't want to use any of the fast travel features, but this tower comes with naturally spawning teleportals that will take you to all the Mages Guild in the big cities, somewhat alleviating the grind from travelling from one end of the map to the other and staying within a story or challenge mode. All that plus summon your own Atronachs and go ahead and get absolute hundreds of different plant materials. But wait, there's more. You'll also activate some special touchstones that can fortify a whole bunch of stuff and get some extra goodies. Let me take you through everything you need to know about Frostcrag Spire. So let's go ahead and find the actual spire. We're going to be going east of Bruma. Now there is actually a long and winding path that will take you there, but you need to head to that cavern that you can see in the north, which is a bit more relatively easy to follow on the map. And then effectively it does a big massive loop coming back on itself. But as always, if you just want to know the location of it and work everything else out for yourself, here it is. Literally covering up the U in the word county on the map. And of course, it's very tall, so if you ever do get lost, you really only need to look to the skies to the east, and you should be able to hopefully see it from almost any location nearby. Now, one note of caution, it might pop up telling you that the house is available effectively straight away, but you still need to make sure you trigger the wording on it so that you can fast travel back to this point at any time. So basically, make sure you run around the whole tower or go up and down the paths to it to make sure you trigger it. Also, at the stairway leading up to it, one of them, go around the back of the tower and essentially you'll find this tiny little campfire and a chest containing a key to allow you access without having to lockpick. You really can't miss it as long as you keep turning right on the last stairway up to the tower. But not to be confused with Knoll Mountain, which also has a campfire as well as a tent, although there's something here you might want to pick up. There's a grey robe set. Really want to start getting into the mage roleplay. And this will be on the path that carries on forward past the tower. If you're still practicing your lockpicking skills, it should be an average lockpick. Really cool feature to this place. Obviously, until you upgrade it, it might seem a bit lackluster. There's a vault area which has got probably the biggest amount of storage in one small space, as well as a ton of other goodies that you'll be able to get once you upgrade it. You'll get some lore and info about the spire. You need to head to the Mystic Emporium in the market district of the Imperial City to talk to Orilenwe to go ahead and buy the upgrades needed. Once you've taken the book and maybe spent a few seconds just walking around, the actual doorway should open to the rest of the tower. And you'll notice the sigils and the pretty much teleportals that will take you either to the spire or to the vault below. And crucially, this is where you can access spellcrafting and alchemy, but you will need to go ahead and buy some special candles. You've also got the summoning altar for Atronachs. Now you need fire, void, or of course frost swords. Some of them you'll be able to find from random alchemy traders at level 9, like the fire and frost, but the storm ones don't start generating until level 19. There are some other ways which I'll talk about a bit later. Likewise, I'll give a brief talk through spellcrafting and some of the other stuff that you can do with enchanting. But yeah, you'll notice the different spawning pods. Obviously we've got the flame Atronach, and then we've got the storm and then the frost one. Let's go ahead and teleport down to the vault, and it's pretty dim and dingy. In fact, upgrading it doesn't make it much better, although you do get a nice collection of imps that will then move in who are friendly. So I'll show you the gravestones that exist in here as well, and they can give you some really good daily bonuses to speechcraft, mercantile and personality, as well as a special bottle of whiskey. But we'll do that once we've upgraded everything. But for now, yeah, don't drop anything or leave anything in here. Like all player homes, if you leave anything in something that needs to be upgraded, there's a chance it might actually be lost. There's only certain chests that you can use in player homes that won't necessarily wipe when you go ahead and upgrade. So use the other teleportal and it will take you up to the garden room. It's well worth going ahead and grabbing as much of this plants as possible. It seemed to spawn really quickly. It may have even respawned once I went ahead and purchased more upgrades. There is over 100 different types of plants here. Well, 100 plants, but lots of different types. Absolute paradise for practicing making some of your potions. And then standing and using the final teleport will take you up to the main top spire. Not really anything going on here other than just an amazing view when it's maybe not so foggy. And if you go back down to the garden room and actually head out the door, this is where you'll find all the teleportals to all the other mage guilds in Cyrodiil. So I really think this is a cool feature. Like I said, for people that are just role playing, or if they ever do introduce any kind of survival mode, you really don't want to use fast travel, experience everything there is, but this can be some sort of reward for getting here and then having at least a way to get to certain places. One thing I didn't check was whether or not you'd be able to use them with being over encumbered. That might be something to test out yourself and could offer a quicker, easier way to get to certain locations if you really were desperate. Sadly, it is a one-way trip though. You can't use a teleport on the other side to return. And they'll put you in various places within the Mages Guild in the cities, usually on the first floor or maybe just directly out inside the actual Imperial City. So while we're here, let's go and buy the upgrades from the Mystic Emporium. Now the prices of these may be obviously different for you depending on your skills and whether or not you've tried haggling. The Alchemy Lab should be the first one that you buy. And then make sure you actually buy the tallow candles, the mega tallow ones, as they are quite expensive as well. After that, it's your choice really. The vault area upgrade will have lots of chests, as I said. The library and bedroom area might not seem as needed. If you're really desperate to sleep, you could always go to the camp outside. However, there's a certain item that only spawns in a jewelry chest once you've bought all of the upgrades. So I'll show you that in a second too. But for sure, the alchemy upgrade and the candles are the most important at the beginning. For me, the candles were 3,000 each and you will need both packets. Once you return, you'll be able to see all your upgrades and yeah, there's a lot going on. So the library is this small alcove in the corner, will be filled with books. Can't really remember if there was any that actually offered skills. I did go through every single one of them, but I do believe there might be a couple of books in maybe the living quarters instead. And then on the other side, you've got a table with some knickknacks on it. This is not the alchemy table just because it's got some of the stuff you would use. That's actually got a more dedicated bench upstairs. As said, the storage space in the vault is absolutely immense. There's so many different chests. So really just nice and convenient to have everything in one single spot. You could really lay it all out nicely, have potions exactly in one chest, armor in another, ingredients in one, etc. In one of the alcoves you'll find all the barrels of wine, and this is definitely something to check out. There's not really actually much inside the big barrels, but do make sure you grab the bottle that's on top of the actual wine shelves, and there's like 20-30 other more wine bottles that you could utilise to either drink or go and sell, but this one's actually a quest item. If you head west of the Imperial City to a small village called Way, you'll find an inn, and she basically asks you to deliver 6 bottles of this wine. It won't give you the direct location, but that's something I'm sure you can work out. And if you're looking for more bottles, then they're pretty much found in lots of old fort ruins around Cyrodiil. Worth noting, the rest of it will be found in chests inside the forts rather than just on its own. These do also respawn, so the first time you deliver 6 you'll get 1,000 gold as a reward, and then after that she'll give you 100 gold for each extra bottle. It's definitely something worth noting. So staying within that alcove, actually as you come out, go left immediately and jump into this gap here just between the strut and the large rock. In the corner you're going to have 2 graves which activate touchstones, one of which does give you the skills I mentioned earlier, and the other one actually gives you a special bottle of whiskey. The whiskey does only spawn once though. It's pretty much Daedric lava whiskey, which does fire damage, 1 point for 10 seconds on self, paralyze for 10 seconds on self, restore health 20 points for 20 seconds on self, and summons a Dremora Lord for 60 seconds on self. So use the summon of the Atronach there wisely. Let's back up to the gardening part of the tower now, and there's more goodies on top of the shelves, and this is the really important part. You'll get an alchemy skill boost when you come and use this part of it. It'll activate a spell just like it does for the Battlehorn Castle where you get extra armor skill. And yeah, it increases your alchemy by 15. But it also does it in a slightly different way. It fortifies your effects. So by triggering the spell before you start making any potions, it will give you effectively a ability rather than just a spell effect, which increases the actual full value of it, the skill's base value. That's effectively what I've learned through looking at the wiki. So yeah, it's a bit different than any other kind of boost to alchemy. Also pay attention, in this place there will be a game at dinner, one of the books, that will give you an alchemy skill boost as well. And on top of this same bookcase you'll find a chest with a special ring in it. This is the Pentamagic Loop, fortifying conjuration, destruction, illusion and mysticism for a good amount of time with 5 points each. So that's pretty much all covered. Let's take a look at the spell making and just give a brief overview, as well as of course the enchanting. Go ahead and place the Mega Tallow candles, and as you can see it's as simple as that. You can start enchanting your gear. Now depending on what level you are, some stuff may be a bit too much, so don't go trying to make something crazy, but it's definitely going to require a bit of experimentation, which is something I'm going to be doing in my live streams. So I really have to repeat, you can't enchant any gear unless you've gone to the Archmage's quarters inside the University Tower or this place. So if you really don't want to have to do a lot of the mage quests, maybe you've done it before, you want to kind of mix a few things up but not necessarily go through all that stuff, then this is definitely somewhere you need to come. The only other way is to keep reloading some of the sigil stones that you get from the Oblivion towers, and hopefully try and get one that's got an enchantment you want. And it's the same kind of process that you might be used to if you played Skyrim. Effectively you add an element, you add any of the spells that you've learned, coupled together with a soul gem, plus obviously your actual armor piece too. Of course the soul gems do need to be filled. You will get different effects for the armor and weapons, and on top of all that, yes, you do need a bunch of gold. I didn't say it was free, I just said it was a way to go ahead and use enchanting. You can add multiple enchantments to weapons. I do believe the greater the soul gem, the greater the amount of charge that you get. I think this is worth a deep dive in another guide, so that's something I'm going to work on in the future, talking about the different levels and what you'll need. But play around with it and let me know how you got on. And then you've got the spell crafting, which is pretty much the same thing, but without maybe needing all of the soul gems. Again, you'll need gold to pay for it, and you just set what kind of spell it is: touch, projectile or self, the level of the spell, the area of effect and the duration. Of course, if it pops up red, it might say that you're not at the right level in that magic discipline, so you have to obviously level up first. This is where maybe some of the other potions can come in handy by making them first. And you do have to name everything, otherwise it might not let you create the spell. Okay, so the last thing to talk about is summoning the Atronachs. Click on the altar and then just choose which one you want: Storm, Frost or Flame. But you must have the 3 sorts equivalent to it, so Fire, Storm and Void. And like I said before, level 20, these can be a bit challenging to find. Well, at least the Storm ones. Fire ones you got more of a chance of finding from random alchemist traders after level 9. And actually likewise the Frost Atronachs, again you find from random traders at level 9 too. But the Storm Atronachs, yeah, it's from level 19 onwards that you've got a chance of buying them from some of the alchemist traders. Now this does act like an extra follower, so you can have this on top of any spells that you use, as well as Martin and Joffrey if you've got them following you around, plus a man at arms if you've got the Battlehorn Castle or any other kind of follower from one of your homes. So all different varieties of the swords can be found randomly inside the alchemist traders, but only at level 20 and above, or should be. And you have got a chance of finding some in Conjurer or Oblivion loot chests, but again only starting at level 17. For the Void ones, you can hopefully come across a lot of the Storm Atronachs, but they're obviously going to be found more in Oblivion levels, and again only at levels 19 and beyond. Otherwise, once you do get to level 19, you might find some in Conjurer dungeons, or you might find some as part of the main quest line, depending if you're again above a certain level, which is usually like 17 to 19. So your best bet to get Void Swords is travel to places like Bravel, to the Wizard's Grotto. In Bruma, the Mages Guild living quarters, you'll find some. In Cinderin's Cellar, which I'm showing you now, in the Westweald Inn in Skingrad. And apparently you can find some in the Crypt of the Night Mother in Bravel and the Dividing Line in Leowin. Some of them locations you won't be able to access until you get to a certain level or progress through obviously things like the Dark Brotherhood. For fire sorts, guaranteeing places are in Honman's house in Bruma, Skingrad Mages Guild, and the Elder Scrolls Library in the Imperial Palace, but only during the quest The Ultimate Heist. And frost salts, same thing as the fire as I said, level 9 onwards from traders, but otherwise Leirwin Mages Guild, Honman's house in Bruma, Bruch Callus house in Bruma, the Arcane University Praxographical Centre. Also you've got an Illustorium in the Arcane University, plus the Cellar in Westweald Inn in Skingrad, all things alchemical in Skingrad, and the Mystic Emporium in the Market District. These can obviously be bought or you might find them. Obviously you can find fire ones in Oblivion as well at the same sort of level of level 9 maybe. But you're not going to find any of the frost Atronachs in Oblivion planes, so they're probably a bit harder. Hence why it's got slightly more places to go and buy it. So there we go. I'm trying to be thorough here and give you the heads up. It's nothing worse than saying, right, I found this thing. How the hell do I summon it? I've not come across any of this stuff. So I do hope you appreciate me giving you that little list. And obviously you can check out more dedicated maps to find some of these locations. But really could be worth it as these guys are permanent summons as well. And again, what level you're at will result in what kind of damage they do. So levels 1 to 3, all of them will pretty much only do their respective elemental damage by 5 points. Levels 4 to 7 for the Fire Atronach, you'll do 12 points. And levels 8 plus, you'll do 20 points. That's the same thing for their actual fire damage on touch rather than target. Plus flat 3 points of melee. Frost and Storm Atronach, they actually go up further. So once you get to levels 4 to 9, you'll get 15 points of damage from both. Levels 10 to 14, 25 points of damage, and levels 15 plus 40 points of either frost or shock damage. And both deal slightly lower touch damage rather than on target. The Frost Atronach's got the biggest melee, 33 flat points, and the shock one has got 17 points. Just bear in mind it may be a bit different for you depending on your levels also. I'm not 100% sure how it affects it, what level you are in certain magics and conjuration and stuff. But that looks like it's the baseline kind of stats. As said, I'm really interested in this, so I might actually do a much more detailed guide on conjuring everything. And that's it, I'm done. That's been a long one. Hopefully it has been good for you. Let me know if you like the idea of this place, and I'll see you right back for more guides soon.